name is Nicole Drake, and I'm representing a provider agency. I am a CEO and owner of a provider agency. And I was actually out of town when I realized exactly what was going on with the House budget. And immediately started emailing, calling, saying, hey, we need to pull our staff together, we need to get our families together so that we can make these phone calls and these emails. So we have, started to make sure that people know exactly what's going on. But the biggest impact that has really hit home for me is the fact that we have really worked hard to motivate, encourage, talk to our people about what their rights are. We had a big campaign for the election, and to have to go back to these same people and say, you wanted to vote, you were encouraged to vote, you did vote, but this is what's happening. All of the things that we've tried to encourage you to do, to go to school, to get a job, to change your environment, and now we've got to say to them, you voted for these people, but you're going back to where you were, or even going to regress even further back from where you started from. So that is really one of my biggest concerns. I have staff here tonight that I really wanted them to see the impact of how it was going to affect them, because I can say how it's going to affect me, how it's going to affect the families, but I wanted them to hear firsthand and to know exactly what's going on. We don't have families here tonight because we were not sure exactly what was going to be, who we're going to be here, and we don't want to keep taking them out of their environments, but we will be in Raleigh, whether it's tomorrow or whether it's next week, because it's impacting them. I've been in the field for probably 15 years now, and I've seen some of the most remarkable success stories since community support. I realized that we've been scrutinized, scrutinized in the news, but I've seen more people change their lives. I've seen people actually say to us, you know what, when you bring me back home, I'm going to kill myself, or I'm going to kill my neighbor, I've got a gun. But then to call later and say, I didn't do it because you were there for me. When we have so many people that have those thoughts in their minds on a day-to-day basis, they're your neighbors. They're, your son's friend down the street. It's real, and it's gonna get home. It's gonna hit home even worse when we're not there. I recognize that community support dollars were abused, but I also feel like the state has to take responsibility for the fact that if I was a physician, if I was not a physician, I couldn't open up a physician office. So if I was not a qualified professional or in the mental health field, why was I able to open up a community support agency? And I have educated staff that are going to be in a situation where they can't pay their student loans, but these are people who love doing what they do. These are people that are changing people's lives. But all of that could be over for us July 1st or whenever the budget is actually finalized. So that's why we're here tonight, and I hope that everybody contacts whoever, whatever we need to do to advocate, we need to make it happen.
Director of a small nonprofit in Rockingham County called Redirections. We have two programs, sentencing services and mediation services. And this is a constituency that I haven't heard mentioned tonight. We work with criminals. And in our sentencing program, we work with people who can either go to prison or remain in the community depending on what the judge says, and depending on the information that we give the judge about the person. And to give you an idea of what a case would be like, we recently had a case of a young man who, when he was 16, had sex with a 14-year-old, which he didn't know that. And when her mother found out about it, she made it a point to make sure he was prosecuted for that, and he wound up in prison. When he came out, he was labeled a sex offender. And in our community now, you can't find a place to live, you can't find a job if you have this label. So he was told that he had to have a place to live, and if he couldn't find one, he'd have to go back and serve another year in prison. Well, the sentencing services person found him a place in a faith-based community, and they will give him a place to live for 6 months and help him get a job. And in so doing, it will save the state over $28,000 because that's what it would cost to keep him in prison for a year. And that's one of the benefits of sentencing services. One of the not as important benefits is helping people turn their lives around, but it is a benefit to us as taxpayers. And the state has earmarked our program to be eliminated. And the mediation program, which works in the district court to help people with disputes, is slated to be cut 25%. So with that in mind, we went to Raleigh today and we talked to the legislators. And you know what they said? Because when we said, why are you just cutting these programs? Why aren't you coming up with some taxes? They said, well, you know, if we come up with taxes, then we might be voted out next time. And that's what I'm hearing. I heard that there are 12 Democrats that said they will not vote for any kind of tax package because the Republicans are saying they are not going to vote for any kind of tax package. And then there are 12 Democrats that are saying they will not vote for this budget unless there's a tax package. But I think they are coming to understand that we cannot do this alone on cuts. And that's where you come in. You have got to talk to everybody you know and ask them to get in touch with legislators and tell them that we don't want this strictly by cuts. You know, if you have to raise fees, if you have to raise taxes, do that. But do not do this. You are, you know, hurting, from what I hear, so many different groups.
Anybody else who'd like to come up who didn't sign up in advance? Come on up. We have a couple more folks who are willing to do that. Come on up.
Okay, one more over there. Did you want to come up over there?
Good. Go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Michael McGuire, the Clinical Director of the Children's Home. I'm primarily speaking with a different hat, and that is as Chair of the Local Providers Council in this area. It's a four-county catchment area. And we met, the steering committee of this group met this week because of this crisis. And we do have a message for Raleigh. I think this is a great opportunity to deliver this message. We also have a letter going out. But it's just a few very basic messages, so this won't take long. But first and foremost, we do realize it's tough times. And we do encourage this state to tighten the belt. Please don't tighten the noose around these particular services again. These are the consumers that during the reform, not many years ago, were promised, if you weather this storm, and it was a storm, if you weather this storm, and some did not, if you weather this storm, we promise you a brighter future. After several years, we're just now in this state of North Carolina beginning to find our sea legs. A lot of providers have not made it this far. Some probably didn't need to. Providers that are here now have learned to run lean and mean and be effective and efficient for the most part. The consumers are finally understanding how to find their way around and navigate the system. And now this promise will become a lie if the good folks in Raleigh, that I know intend to do well by these constituents, turn their backs. This is definitively an historic crossroads for the state of North Carolina, one never seen before that I'm aware of. And many say that communities are judged by how they treat the least of us, the ones with the least voice, the fewer resources, the most vulnerable. And either we're going to look back and see that we turned our back on those consumers, or we found a way to look them in the eye, do the right thing, and stand by them. The steering committee also has a message for Raleigh, and I've heard this come up a couple of times, and I'm going to be really clear on this. I'm going to look them in the eye. Raise our taxes. You don't hear that very often. It's a great country. Raise our taxes and tighten the belt not the noose. Thank you.